Hi, I'm Anatol, and this is my review of Narcos Mexico Season 2, Episode number 5, titled AFO. It scored a total of 8.5 on imdb.com, and that is from 1,100 reviews. I'm not 100% sure the meaning of AFO, but I did look up that the meaning of that in American military is Advanced Forces Operation. So unless I missed an explanation of it inside the episode, I'm guessing that's referring to the operation of Walt and his DEA crew as they're hunting down the drug runners who they know killed Kiki in season number 1. Plot of the episode: Ramon shoots fish at the park, and that is the cold open up of the episode. And it's done as a montage over the song In the City. And it's, I think, an amusing, a darkly comedic opening to the episode, because we're not quite sure, as we follow Ramon at the start of his day up to the point where he shoots the fish, we're not quite sure what he's doing and where it's going. So the reveal that he's out there shooting fish is a little bit of an absurd moment. Walt and the DEA meet with Calderoni, who tells them about the deal with Tijuana. And Adina and Isabella begin smuggling coke across the border using Mexican temp workers. The Sinaloans take the coke from the Tijuana Plaza and move it to their own warehouse. Felix Gallardo and Amado go to meet the Colombians, hoping to corner the market. But Juan Nepomuceno Guerra strikes a deal with the Colombians to traffic coke, leaving the Guadalajara cartel out of the loop. Walt discovers El Chapo's tunnel and tells Benjamin about it, triggering a war between the different Mexican cartels. And that's the plot summary. Now, some of my thoughts on the episode. What I thought about the episode, to begin with, I thought there was a lot of info dump in the episode. Some of it is handled quite well, but in general, info dump should be avoided. And I think there are like 4 scenes of info dump within the episode. I thought that the first scene with info dump, where we had Walt and the DEA crew meeting with Calderoni, and Calderoni's explaining about the Tijuana situation. I thought that was handled well, because it not only expressed the information that we needed to know and Walt and his crew needed to know, but it also showed the cracks growing within the DEA crew and some of their fear and prejudices against Calderoni working with him. So that was handled quite well. But then the very next info dump scene, where we have Isabella and Adina talking together about how they're going to smuggle the coke across the border, was completely extraneous. There was no sort of stakes between those two characters, no development of character. It was just there so that we would understand how their operation is going to work. And so that was an example of some of the more inartful ways that the info dump was presented within the episode. One common complaint I've seen on Reddit is that the crew of Walt's, the DEA crew, has not been developed enough. So at episode 5, they're still very much cardboard characters. We don't even really know a lot about Walt. And some of the people on Reddit are saying they haven't enjoyed the season because they haven't been able to connect with the characters. And I think this is one example where the 10 episode season doesn't work here. I think it should have been a 12 or 13 episode season, because it's so spread out this season. We are focused on Amado, Walt and his crew, the Tijuana Plaza situation, Felix Gallardo. There's too many people with their fingers in the plot, so to speak. And because there's always that emphasis in Narcos Mexico on the intrigue and the espionage and having the suspense scenes, it can be quite hard to fill in the character development scenes when you have all the other stuff to take care of. And I feel in this season, the character development has definitely suffered because of that, because of the large cast for this season. So speaking of which, Amato is super passive in this episode. We have the info dump when Felix Gallardo takes Amato to meet the Colombians, and on the plane he tells him what his whole master plot has been, and Amato doesn't do much of anything. We don't really see what is the drive of his character in that scene, because he's just listening to Felix tell him what the strategy is. And then when he gets in with the Colombians, there's some cutaway shots to him, but he's not allowed to react until they get into the elevator. And then all he really does then is express the precariousness of the situation. He doesn't really tell us a lot about what his drive is other than survival, so it's all quite thin. His motivation's all been very thin this whole season. We get the sense he wants to advance within the cartel, but why? What's driving him to succeed? Is it survival? Is it greed? Is it pure ambition? We don't know. Enedina, well, I'm struggling on pronouncing her name. Hopefully by the time I get to the next episode, I'll get clarified on how to pronounce her name. But her plan with Isabella has too many points of failure. There are too many people going across the border, any one of whom can squeal and talk to another rival Mexican crew or to the DEA, or they can just get popped and then become informers. The plot they have is just so thin, it feels like not clearly thought out, or not clearly presented to us, the viewers. And so because it seems so weak, it just seems like it either has plot armor or it's meant to fail, and we're not meant to think about how it's all so weak to begin with, and that's the reason why it failed. So there could have been more explanation on why these two are putting so much faith in this plan that seems like it could fall apart so easily once you begin thinking about it. The scene between Pacho and Felix Gallardo, where Felix is meeting the Colombians, so many characters. I know from listening to director's commentary, that kind of scene is very difficult to edit. All these stationary characters, they're all talking, and you have to show how these characters are, what their stakes are in that scene. So lots of cutaways. So I thought the editing in that scene was really well done. I like the bit with the fans at the warehouse. You have to give the DEA crew some reason to get into that warehouse to begin with, and then a reason to explore the warehouse, because the drugs are not just going to be sitting out in the open for them. So the whole bit of how Benjamin has someone follow them after they take the drugs out of the warehouse, that gives Walt the reason to go look into the warehouse. And then when they're leaving, because obviously the drugs are not going to be out in plain view, they have to have a reason to go back, and that's where the fans comes in. All that, the suspense, so they show us that the tunnel is down there and the guys are working hard, so that builds suspense because we know they're there. When Walt doesn't, we get that privileged perspective. And that suspense works on the viewers having some bit of a privileged information or privileged perspective that the character in the movie does not, and that drives the tension of the reveal. We know there's some mystery or some element of danger to be revealed to the main character, and the character doesn't know, and the film director or the script writer holds that out and plays it out longer so that we know that there's something going on the character doesn't. That gets us involved in the scene. I thought that was all done very well. We see Walt dealing with a moral choice, just like we saw in the interrogation scene. So Walt's given the opportunity to really take down the cartel that has been set up by Felix Gallardo. But to do that is going to entail loss of life, maybe even innocent people's lives. So does the ends justify the means? If he's going to go with a purely moral choice, he's going to go for the bust that's presented to him right now. Get the coke, get it off the streets, and you're not taking down the cartel, but you're taking a little bit of that crank out of the system, so other people won't be using it. That's the easiest justification, the easiest action to have with moral justification. But then the tantalizing offer that's given to him by Calderoni is to leak that information and let the cartels be in fighting amongst themselves, which Walt knows and the people in that room, the DEA, know that's going to lead to people's lives being lost. So on some level, Walt will have blood on his hands if he takes that decision. I thought that was all very interesting. And here we get to see the desire for Walt played against people within the DEA who are opposing that. So because we see people who are willing to quit Walt's crew from that decision, we know that that decision has some sort of weight. Even if we don't know the repercussions of that decision yet, we haven't seen people dying from it, we know it must be serious enough for these people who are dedicated to fighting crime and who are there to get revenge or vengeance for the death of Kiki Camarena. If they're going to give up on that, we know that that must be a very serious decision that Walt's making. So even if you don't know a lot about the history of the event, you can surmise by the way the scenes presented the weight of that. And I thought that was really well done. And that's all I got for this episode. So thank you for joining me for this review of Narcos Mexico Season 2, Episode number 5. Until next time, take care and be well. Goodbye.